Previously on The Locker Room, our panel was split about who should lead Real Madrid's forward line against Real Sociedad.
I was really surprised they didn't hold on to Mariano for situations like this.
I would go with the young kid that you just mentioned.
Mayoral.
The best 11 in the under-21 Euros. A kid that can play with his back to goal, is pretty crafty around the box as well.
The pressure's on Zidane in this situation to pick the right one.
I'm actually going to criticise him for the first time because last year he was untouchable. But you let good players like Morata go and you don't replace them.
Hello and welcome to The Locker Room. In terms of performances, it was a corker from Borja, and you called it, Thomas Rongen. I think Zinedine Zidane must have been watching.
Don't mess with the system. Just 1-for-1, Ray. That's what you normally do. You don't change everything. Put that 9, that young kid in there. Was a leading goal scorer in the other 21 Euros as well. You felt this kid is ready. It's only one game, though. They've compared him, and I would even compare him to Raul. Now, let's wait 10 years if he gets there. But what I mean is his movement, his quickness. He's so great around the box. The first goal is instinctive, you know? It's a little bit of a rebound. The second one, he muscles, I think it was Loriente, in midfield, no foul, gets past with an acceleration as well. Should have played the ball to Modric, but still ends up great performance.
He tried, I think he looked to Modric as he was driving in, but it tightened up so quickly. And then, as we said in the commentary game, he still had the awareness not to take the shot at goal, which was covered. He tried to get it through on a second pass, but it didn't work out. Own goal, but no, the kid did. He
did well, because I just mentioned one thing about the own goal. Rodriguez scores, the youngster, the Portuguese youngster. He scores. He hits the crossbar. Right? From the crossbar goes the other end. He tracks all the way back, slides in there to stop Asensio scoring and scores an own goal. So you've got to feel sorry for El Sociedad as well.
Did Mayoral give Zinedine Zidane reason to believe that he could be the backup, the understudy that they need for Karim Benzema?
To a point, and I think he did give the promise. As Thomas said, he's been described as a young Raul, and the goal was an opportunistic finish. Sergio Ramos is being fouled as he's trying an overhead volley. The ball pops up for Borja, who actually started the play. Give him credit for that. The own goal, he's trying to do the right thing. It finds the net. There were 2 or 3 other ones. When I was talking about Mariano in the last show, it was because I thought he was perhaps a little more ready. But you do want that guy that's humble, that's willing to sit on the bench and wait for his turn without tearing a dressing room apart. And you know what this kid said? He said the most valuable commendation that he got. The thing that he appreciated the most was a congratulatory note from Karim Benzema.
Yes.
You know what, Phil, that's all very nice and kumbaya, and you don't want anybody to shoot and all that stuff. It's not like that in a club like Real Madrid. This kid had a lot of pressure on him.
But Zidane obviously thought he could handle it.
Zidane had the pressure on him multiplied because the long knives, as we all know, would have been out for Zidane had he not. The big chips were played by Zidane. And like Thomas said, he had the belief. He had seen, because I'm not sure he's ever going to be the next Raul. I think he'll be one of those players.
Did he have a choice, right? I mean, he had so many injuries.
He didn't really have many choices, but he still had one or two.
Well, he could Bale in the middle, Vasquez out wide,
he could have moved the deck chairs around, for sure, and he could have got sunk if it didn't work out. The kid came through with him. I like as much about his early runs in the early part of the game where he wasn't served the ball, and he still kept on playing that way, making those runs, making himself available, and it paid off. So well done him.
Okay, in answer to your question, though, because Zinedine Zidane comes out and says it was a phenomenal performance, and he did say, even though many are saying he's got time for him to go back in the dungeon, he did say that Borja is going to have a big role on this team.
Well, that's good to hear. The comparisons with Raul as well. That's the player that he always looked up to as a child. But he did say that when Karim Benzema came to the club, because he's been around since he was a kid, Borja Mayoral, he said, I started to then watch his game, watch the way he played with his back to goal, watch the way he played inside and outside the box.
It's a long way to go, Kay, from looking at Raul to where he's. Here's my problem for him and for Asensio and maybe even Isco is when the others come back, which they are. With CR7 comes back for the next game, and Marcelo and Kroos, they're going to go to the bench, and even Isco might end up on the bench. And are they going to cope with it? Well, but who do you leave out up front?
Gary, You're absolutely right.
You've got the BBC up front, you've got the normal midfield.
This story is just beginning at Real Madrid. These wonderful raft of talent that's trying to force the old guys out and get in. And it's going to be very interesting. I've got names here: Morata, Mariano, Hesse, all players that were looking very good. Sure. And then got moved out. We hope it doesn't happen with this.
I'll tell you whose story's just beginning at Barcelona is Paulinho, scoring the winner against Getafe, doing well to do so as well, holding off his defender. And it was his first shot on target in La Liga, which ended in a goal. So, Thomas, can he continue to be decisive for Barcelona going forward this season? Because there were doubts and critics.
He's a rare breed right now. He is strong and powerful in tight spaces, like he showed in the goal. He's unbelievable. He rides the tackle. He gets one more touch.
It sounds like you're talking about an English player.
No.
He's a Brazilian as well.
I just said tight skill, great skills in tight spaces as well. But what I like about him is, but people don't know, he plays the attacking midfielder for Brazil. Casemiro sits. Renato Augusto, he plays hard. By the way, scored 3 goals in the last 4 World Cup qualifying games for Brazil. This guy can do it both.
Got the ability.
Great on set pieces. What a huge play. This is going to be
Thomas,
4.
And not just
Barca.
3 and 4, 4 in 6. He's proven that he can do this consistently. Tite has put him in that position to succeed. He's almost like a Sami Khedira could have been. That guy that's going to make the trailing run in. And we saw it there. We saw it in Champions League. Now we've seen it in La Liga. And now with Dembele out, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, they're going to need Paulinho to play more than just 20 minutes off the bench.
It's almost a different Barcelona now because he's not your classic little wonderful touch player. He's big, he's strong. Denis Suarez is more of a runner than some of the others. And slowly Valverde is creating a team. It's a different looking Barcelona, but you look at them and you go, they can be effective.
Different from last year. I think it's getting back to that possession football in midfield. They're just a better team to watch. They're more engaging. But the substitutes as well that Valverde put in, taking Iniesta off, putting more energy in, putting the Brazilian in. Listen, let's be honest. The Brazilian Paulinho was wonderful on that. It's still to be played out. He benefited from the magic man. Medicine man Messi comes, hesitates, holds up, waits for the run. But the run was made. The run dictates the pass.
Very good, Ray.
But it's a beautiful ball.
He makes the run. Messi's pass is great, but the willingness for him to get in those spaces is brilliant.
The next thing is he's not a giant guy. He's less than 6 feet, about 160 pounds maybe.
Big though, huh?
But he rides the tackle first. He retaliates first.
Okay, the main talking point from PSG's meeting with Lyon is actually considering a couple of Brazilians here, Dani Alves and Neymar. Was Neymar and Cavani, they were arguing over who should take the penalty. And we also saw Dani Alves helping out his compatriot by keeping the ball from Cavani to try and give it to Neymar. Gary, this is not looking to be a good situation at PSG.
No, it's not. And I'm looking at Unai Emery as a manager and thinking, you've got to make this decision. You know, as soon as Neymar joins, you know he wants to take penalties, free kicks. You've got to sit the two of them down and say, perhaps Cavani, you get penalties, Neymar, you get free kicks. Because what he's now got is a ticking time bomb. And you've got a fractured locker room where the Brazilians like Dani Alves are going to support Neymar. Cavani's going to have his guys supporting him. Another coach is leaving it to them to fight it out. And I think that risks having all sorts of bad infighting going on.
That's a fair point, Gary. You know, Thomas and I were coaches, and we would more often than not, leave it up for the players to decide. There was always a hierarchy, the first 2 or 3 that wanted to do, that had the responsibility and were good at it, and let them bicker about. But this is a different situation. This is a lot of ego involved. But, you know, Phil, you mentioned it before we came on air, is a good point, that this is... Basically, Cavani's been there a while. He's established himself as the leader. He's been the one that steps up and take the penalties after Ibrahimovic. Should Neymar just, you know, earn his line on the pecking order?
To a point, but they pay that much money for Neymar to stand on the sidelines. Even if he did have trouble with penalties in the past, as I had mentioned, this is interesting because remember all of the walking on eggshells when Ibrahimovic was there and Cavani came in.
Well, would they have done that to Ibra is a good question.
Ibra would have kicked them both to the sidelines. They're missing that dynamic personality. And I guess in some ways credit to Cavani for trying to take the weight. I know you've talked about this on the Extra tonight, how the only reason he misses the penalty is because of a fantastic save. So in some ways, Cavani a little unfortunate, but this is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
Unai Emery coming out and basically saying they do need to resolve this amongst themselves.
So what's
he saying with the door closed?
Because
I think he's got to be
stronger. L'Equipe are reporting that there was actually a bit of a dressing room bust-up afterwards as well between Neymar and Cavani, and this is not what we'll be wanting to see when this PSG side have been...
I like that little bit of vinegar in the locker room. You don't want to come by your kid. You don't want everybody sweet. The little bit of dagger, a little bit of nastiness can do a lot of good.
When we were on a group run, I somehow manipulated literally a fight in practice for everybody to go, or in a locker room. And that's the norm. Everybody moves on. Sure. This is different, though. These are a lot of stars together. Two stars. Let's face it, Dani Alves is a big ego as well. Neymar comes in as well. Ray says, you know what, Cavani's earned his stripes. Neymar has not yet. So the chemistry right now is great. 5 Brazilians. And by the way, Mbappe plays on the right side, not his best position. Is Unai Emery so smart to say, you know what, Cavani, Mbappe needs to play here with Neymar, something out there as well.
Here's the thing, the only winner in this, ultimately, has got to be Neymar. He's just got he's got 5 Brazilians there around him. He's been bought for a world record fee. He's got the chairman who loves him.
They're having to make even more shirts because they're selling so many.
He'll win it eventually. Cavani will have to back down.
But, Unai Emery, like Gary says, he's got a decision to make now, the boss.
He's got to make it.
Come in and make it. Listen, it's between you two, or he comes in and says, that's my penalty taker. And then the pressure multiplies on whoever that is.
Oh, well, that's one we'll continue to watch going forward. No comeback as it is at PSG right now. Now, if the early season's anything to go by, it looks like the Premier League title could be going north to Manchester, but where, Gary Bailey? United
you're not asking me that seriously. Of course it's going to United.
Look at this colour,
Gary. Look at this blaming it.
Exactly. The performances from both Manchester teams so far in this early season.
Look, City have looked out of this world. But there's something about United under Jose that I think City don't have, and that's their grit. I mean, looking at that midfield, Matic is 6'2", and Fellaini's there, and Pogba when he gets fit, and Ibra's got to come back. This is it. These are a physical team that when they come up against City, they can smash them. So for the first time in years, I'm looking at this going, you know what, Jose? He's got it together. He's giving us a great chance to win in England. I don't know whether they could beat the Barca's and Real Madrid's, but at least they got a chance to winning the English league. And that's a good first step.
All the Portuguese people are cringing right now. Smashing.
Yeah, really.
Don't smash these guys.
What's that big date, Man City against Man United? That's the one.
They haven't played anybody yet, Man United.
Yeah, they haven't. They've got Liverpool in a couple of weeks. That'll be the first decent test.
Good stuff, though, from both Manchester sides so far this season.
But mostly United.
Oh, well, no, you said it. After last week's draw at Antalya, Bafétimbi Gomis said, "We did not get the victory we wanted. We will train harder to make up for this draw." He kept his word and he scored both goals in the 2-0 win over Kasim Pasa. Now, Thomas, please don't get on the table and crawl across. We've seen that happen.
But I love watching this guy,
But isn't it great to see, especially when you're coming out and saying that after a game, you come out and you then score the 2 goals.
Yep. You deliver. When you put it out there, you better produce, and that's what he's done. A lot. I've always liked reggae a little bit. So he looks like a reggae guy with Marley, smoking a spleef.
Wonderful
and stuff like that.
you know.
Anyway, Galatasaray looking strong this season.
Beautiful.
Brilliant crowds as well, and you can catch the Turkish Super League here on beIN Sports. When we return, Gareth Bale says he won't let the booing bother him, but what do the panel think? More Real Madrid talk after the break. Welcome back to the locker room. Look at this. Pietro Pellegrini from Genoa, 16 years old, scoring 2 for Genoa against Lazio. Unfortunately, they lost, but that's his dad, Marco, the assistant coach, crying on the bench. The emotion got to be a little bit too much for him, but it was a wonderful moment this weekend and one that we very much loved. We also had an exclusive interview with Gareth Bale after the game yesterday. Our Jamie Easton did his job very well in that mixed zone, and he put the questions to Gareth, asking him, does the booing bother you? And at first he was very diplomatic, saying, you know, it's part and parcel of the job. He pushed him a little more, and then Gareth said, it is what it is, but I would rather they supported me. It was almost uncomfortable viewing as well to watch him say that. Gary Bailey's screwing his eyes up at me a little bit. Phil Shane's nodding in agreement, it seems.
Well, in my mind, it's the dilemma, the enigma that is Gareth Bale, because we are talking about a wonder talent. So much natural ability that when he is able to harness it, we're talking about one of the best players on the planet, as we saw here running down the beautiful ball from Isco. But it was all Gareth Bale on that one touch to lift it over for the clinching goal. but he's also a wallflower. He's not the guy that's going to demand the spotlight. He kind of goes to the side, and whether it's the boos or the cheers, he really doesn't want to be the center of attention. He just wants to play.
No, but here's the thing. You're putting it on Gareth. I'm putting it on Real Madrid fans. You can't boo players.
Not all
but that's Real Madrid fans.
No, but that's what drives me nuts about them, is that they've got great players there. You would think they would appreciate them. If you brought Gareth Bale to almost any other club, especially in England, he can play badly and we'll still appreciate him. But he goes to Real Madrid and
you buy the white jersey, it comes complete with a white handkerchief.
Not only that, he had the burden at that time for being the most expensive player on the planet. And let's be real honest, he has not performed. You remember 2014 Copa del Rey? 2014 Copa del Rey, 17 times rookie. He's been in a training room 17 times for that kind of money. And in the last game, he scores. But you know what? I'll read his shots, 3rd. Chances, 5th. Passes, 5th. Pass accuracy, 6th. Crosses, 3rd.
But then support him,
3rd.
Thomas.
Take on.
Yeah,
support
okay,
him.
but
He wants to
He's got the best players of the world
Let me ask you
around
this,
him.
though, because we saw something in this game that we haven't seen, maybe going back to his Tottenham days, if not earlier. We saw, forget the goal, look at the role that he played.
The transition especially.
Absolutely. Did the dirty work, was helping to cover on the flank, and then he still had the legs to get up front and score.
You know, the thing is, you've all got great points. Anybody can be forced to run. You get a mule, you get a donkey to do that sort of thing.
Thank you.
The attitude is right. The truth was what Thomas is saying is that by the standards that are at Real Madrid, they want to see that as well, but they also want to see that brilliance, and they want to see it consistently. Every time, and you could say the same about Cristiano and Iker Casillas. These were legends of the game, the gods of the game. Now, Gareth isn't in that part. He's much more humble, and he hears the whistles and blues. And you know what? It's a section. Let's not forget that. It's not the entire Santiago Bernabeu. It's not, Gary. It's not the whole White House. I totally agree with Gary. He's been raised in a culture. We saw it at Barcelona when Suarez was going through a bad time. Barcelona fans got behind him, started singing his names his first 5 games where he was missing sitters. It ain't that way at Real Madrid. And you know what? That's part of the reason why they're the world champions. And that's the dichotomy here.
Only the best get booed is one way of looking at it.
That's right.
Everybody who's been a good player in the past and still at Real Madrid. So if you're not getting booed, maybe it's not a good
I get it on one occasion when they booed. But if game after game they're having a go, and they had a go at Cristiano, and here they are, world champions, European champions, Spanish champions, and you're still getting booed. I mean, seriously.
Guys, let's be real honest. Everybody healthy. Is he going to start?
Yes,
no, he won't.
Of course he starts.
Let's go.
Listen,
There's a much better football
midweek round, Real Madrid against Real Betis. You can see that on Wednesday. Cristiano Ronaldo returning from his 5-game ban, and we're looking forward to seeing him back in action at the Santiago Bernabeu. Remember, Real Madrid have not had a league home win there this season yet, so let's see if they can get back to winning ways at home as well. Now, Ernesto Valverde gave Ousmane Dembele his first start for Barcelona against Getafe. Unfortunately, he was only on the pitch for 28 minutes. The day after, the club have confirmed that he will be out for 3.5 to 4 months.
But look at that. Look at the reaction. That's a 4-month injury, and it looks so innocuous. It looks as if there's nothing there, but then he starts to feel it and realise that this is serious. If you look at it again, and we did it during the game, Phil and I, it looked as if maybe a week or two, 10 days, and I'll just show you. The question is, how much serious preparation time, Thomas, did he get coming into this game? He missed a lot of games in Germany for Dortmund. He didn't have any great extensions in the international games. He may not have been fit enough to play in this game. In hindsight, that's the way it looks.
Yeah, because that's some of the critics and the more cynical types were saying refusing to train at Dortmund might have actually hurt him in the long run, and there are some that would say
we talked about in the green room. That stamina is still a great point, and stamina you require that takes weeks to do that, and then your acceleration is fine. He didn't get interesting. Real quick, in the warm-up, he didn't stretch his left leg continuously. In the warm-up, he touched his left leg a little bit.